Okay, this morning I'm going to preach continuing in the series out of Philippians. So if you have a Bible, turn to Philippians. And it's not one you're going to find easily, so don't be discouraged if you don't find it quick. Use your index, that's all right. Philippians. The title of my message this morning is Joy for the Journey. There was a wife and I watched a movie many years ago. Robert Cummings was in the movie, and it was kind of a comedy or whatever. And he was a little bit off. You know, his elevator didn't go quite to the top floor, and he was just a little funny. And he would get all nervous when stuff was going on. And so they'd have to take him and put him in the closet for about 15 minutes. And while he was in the dark in there in the closet, well, everything would just get put back in place, you know. And they'd open the door and he'd be smiling. He'd go in real nervous. He'd open the door after 15 minutes and he'd just be smiling and say, "I'm happy." I've got a whole bunch of people in my life I'd like to put in that closet. Just to put them in there. Here's my water. Thanks to her. Just to get them a little happier once in a while. Now, we're going to be studying a letter today Paul wrote to the people in Philippi. He's in jail in Rome, and he writes this letter to these Philippians, and he talks to them about joy, about how to have more joy, how to enjoy their life and be more fulfilled. So we're going to look at that today. But his life was really complicated. It was a mess. When Paul went to his closet, he went in his closet to pray. Amen. I mean, that's what he was doing. And his prayer was single-minded. And because it was so focused and so single-minded, it overcame. It was a productive prayer. It got done what he wanted to do because he was clear to God. God, this is exactly what I want you to do. And so he was real clear about that. Talking about joy for the journey. Now, Paul it's not a secret, and it's the Bible's not holding it from us. In fact, the Bible wants us to know the secret to joy. And I've preached on this many times, but there is this formula for joy. And some people get this and some never get it and never figure it out. But when you can figure out this secret for joy, it just makes all the difference in the world. I sat out all day yesterday under a tree at a bluegrass thing, so I got a frog in my throat this morning, so give me a second. I've got to get his legs uncrossed. But Paul's secret for joy is very simple. It's not complicated. So, I mean, we can get it. I'm going to go through it right now. There's 3 steps to it. The first is, what I'm going to say sounds exactly like something a preacher would say. You're going to think, well, that's just preacher talk, and you won't listen to it. But this is really important that you do this. The first step on the journey to joy, to have joy for the journey, is to put Christ first in your life. Put Him number 1. Before you make any other decision, put Him 1. Make sure that every decision you make with your life facilitates putting Him first. In other words, make sure that it blesses Him and it's done in a way that it brings glory and honor to God. Put Him first. Now, Paul shows us how to do this because when Paul was in prison here in Rome, there were a lot of other people who were saying bad things about him. They talked bad about Paul. His enemies were causing trouble, and they were preaching selfishly. They were trying to get fame and recognition for themselves. They were trying to get their name in the history books, as it were. And Paul was talking about them, and Paul realized that they were preaching Christ. Now, they may have been preaching bad about him, but they were also preaching good about Jesus. So he said, go for it. Go for it. Do it, because it's okay with me as long as Christ is being exalted. And so he said, I love it when they're doing that. Because he knew to put Christ first. There was a possibility that Paul may die. Now, we don't know exactly how this all wound up. There's several different traditions and histories that run here. But Paul is in prison in Rome. And he knows that he may have to die for the Lord. But he doesn't care. Because he knows when he does, he'll be able to elevate and lift up Christ. He put Christ first in life and in his death and in his career. Everything he did, he put Christ first. Now, here's the second step, because that's important. God first, here it is now, and then others second. Are you with me? God first, others second. Now, if you can do that, if you can put other people ahead of you, that's going to open the door for your joy. Do you know what happens when you're selfish? It breeds pain and meanness. Whenever you're selfish, it never helps you. It just don't work. You see, selfishness always breeds unhappiness. If you're the kind of person that everything has to be about you and for you, well, you're never satisfied. You're never happy. The joy that you're looking for will never come if it's going to have to be always about you. It's just never going to happen. But when you learn that it's about Christ and exalting and lifting up the name of Jesus, and then exalting and lifting up each other, finding a way to bless others, then pretty soon the doors of joy begin to open up, and you're going to see how wonderful it is. Now, Paul, it was just heaven on earth to him to help others. And he longed to be with Christ. He did. He said, I want to go home and be with the Lord. He really wanted to go on home to heaven. I got a feeling this morning that if every one of us had 3 minutes in heaven, we wouldn't want to come back. Amen. I think every one of us would say, oh, let me just stay here. I don't want to go back down there. I don't want to go back down that stockyard. I want to stay up here with you guys. But we don't get that yet. But heaven on earth to Paul was putting Christ first and then putting others. He eagerly longed to remain so he could help everybody else. Then we find the secret to joy goes like this. Christ first, others second, and you third. That's where you fit. That's where the person, the you, comes in. It comes in. You come in number 3. He says here, Lord, whatever comes, I want Christ to be glorified. Whatever comes, whether it's no matter what, I want Him to be glorified. Now, the secret, this is the secret to Christian joy. When you put Jesus first, others second, and yourself third, it opens the door. Now, living life in that order allowed Paul to remain joyful even when he was in prison. Now, we're going to find him today in prison, bound and locked in jail, and he's going to be surrounded by soldiers. He's in a mess. But we find that in the middle of this terrible situation, that Paul finds joy. And he's happy with the Lord. He's thrilled where he's there because he's there for a very good reason. Now let me tell you why everybody hated Paul. Now not everybody, but let me tell you why a lot of people hated him. Now Paul was a Jew, a quintessential Jew. He was raised a Jew. He was trained a Jew. He was a practicing Jew. I mean, he was Jewish. He wore Jewish underwear. He wore Jewish shoes. He combed his hair like Jews. You know what I'm saying? He was Jewish. His meals were kosher. He was Jewish all the way, everywhere. And then later in his life, he was going on to Damascus, up in Syria, to find some more Christians that he was going to persecute. And he met Jesus on the road to Damascus. Now, Jesus had already been crucified and risen again. But Jesus just chose to meet Paul on this journey to Damascus and reveal himself to him. So he showed up. And Paul became a Christ follower. He loved Jesus. He fell in love with Christ. Now, he didn't do away with his Judaism. He didn't say, oh, you Jews are terrible people. Well, I'm done with you. He didn't throw it away, but he became a follower of Christ. He started loving Jesus. He didn't start hating Jews. He started loving Jesus. Now, there's a huge difference here. Because, well, I'm going to get there in a minute. But he loved people. He loved Jesus. And he began to follow Him. And then he found out that all those people that he used to be with, they now wanted him to quit preaching about this new Jesus. This Jesus thing. Leave that alone. You were a good Jew. Now you're hurting Judaism. So everybody was after him. I mean, they wanted to kill him. All the old Jews wanted him gone because he was messing up Judaism. You see, we need to become single-minded and allow every corner of our lives, whether good, bad, tragic, happy, or whatever, be used to glorify God, our Lord and Savior. Some of you, in the next few weeks, will be in the most crazy places imaginable. You will be on tour ships. You'll be in hospitals. You'll be, in service stations. You'll be in grocery stores. Just think for the next few weeks where all this congregation will be. And everywhere you go, you're going to be able to take the cause of Christ with you. Everywhere you go. You'll take work and home. You'll take Jesus with you. And you're going to remember that when you put Christ first, others second, and you third, you're preaching the great message of joy. And you're learning to live with joy. So I want you to be happy no matter what the circumstance. You see, you can be happy and joyful, actually. You can have joy when things are really going bad. You really can. And some of you this morning know that. You are in the middle of a mess. I've had some of you come to me already this morning and say, oh, my life is just falling in everywhere I turn. The money's not going to make it till the end of the month. The health's not good. The car's broke. The kids are sick. And then just all kinds of situations. I understand that. But I want you to know you can be joyful because the Lord cares. He's with you and He wants to bless you. Now, there are lots of people living and working for Jesus. I'm so glad I'm a part of the Cowboy Church. I've been a denominational pastor most of my life, and now I'm a Cowboy pastor. Somebody asked me the other day, well, what denomination is the Cowboy Church? I said, we're a Cowboy Church. We're non-denominational. But we're a Cowboy Church. We don't fight against any denomination. If you noticed here that you don't join us, I love it when people say, how do I join your church? I said, well, you just talk to Jesus about that because we don't have members here. We're all members or not. We don't. One of the main reasons, when we first started building the Cowboy Church, we got to thinking, what are we going to do about membership? And I said, let's just not have membership. What good? It don't do any good anyway. But let's just not have membership. And that way, people can come to us and stay in their churches too. We won't be fighting with other churches. We're not going to be trying to steal people from this church or steal people from that church. If you want to come here, praise the Lord. If you want to go back to another church, praise the Lord. We're not fighting it. We're on the same team. Amen? Take your head like this. I get it. We're on the same team. We're not fighting the churches. And I tease my mother. She comes to the first service on Sunday mornings. She's 86 next month, but she's got more energy than me and half of you on this side of the church, put together. And I tease her. She comes here all dressed up, real fancy. And I said, Mama, I'm going to go back to, I'm going to another church service. I said, I figured that out. You're so mean. You have to go twice on Sunday. But we don't fight. We're not opposed to other churches or other denominations. If anybody that lifts up Jesus, we're for. Amen? Amen? That's what we're for. That's what we promote down here. So they may be and do things differently than you, and we may do things differently here. You know what I found out last week? Not everybody loves the Cowboy Church. What's wrong with some people? I don't know. I don't get it. Believe it or not, some people don't like to come to church and smell cow poo. I don't know why. It just blows my mind. I don't know why. It's mine. You know what us farmers think about cow poo, don't you? It just smells like money, does. We don't care. We like it. I grew up we were in Derry when I was young, and it's crazy, I know, but the smell of cow poo just reminds me of home. I don't know why. Not the home I grew up in, but being young, and Mom did have a clean house. But how did I get off on cow poo? And the big question is, how am I going to get back on this? But anyway, some churches do things differently than other churches. And some have their collars on backwards, and we don't care where their collar is. We just want people to lift up Jesus. Amen? And that's what we're about. So, we're going to be talking about team today. We're talking about how to maximize your joy. We're going to try to find out how to put you on the team. And let's get our Bible and let's jump into Philippians. Both feet right in the middle of it. About verse 12. If you got your Bible, Philippians 12. If you don't have a Bible, we got Cowboy Bibles. We got 2 of them left over there. Probably some more around here. Get you a Cowboy Bible. So let's go. Here we go. Verse 12. Now I want you to know, brothers, that what has happened to me has really served to advance the gospel. As a result, it has become clear throughout the whole palace guard and to everyone else that I am in chains for Christ. Because of my chains, most of the brothers in the Lord have been encouraged to speak the word of God more courageously and fearlessly. What I'm going to say is this, is simply this. If you want to really maximize the joy in your life, then you need to learn to bloom where you're planted, or I want to say it like this, to be who you were made to be. Now, Paul's prison became his pulpit. See, when he was chained to those guards, he had a captive audience that he could show the love of Jesus to. I mean, how would you like to have been chained to Paul for 12, 14 hours? I mean, he'd have told you about the Lord, wouldn't he? He'd have told you about seeing Jesus on the road to Damascus. He'd have told you about being born again and about being saved. I mean, those soldiers, they got to hear an unending sermon for hours on their whole shift. And Paul was there, and he just got to tell them all about it. That was his pulpit. See, Paul didn't wait till he got a formal pulpit. He just preached right where he is. He used his gifts. He used what God made him to be. Now, everybody here can't play music like David and Barbara and these wonderful musicians up here, or keep a church running smooth like Charles Turks keeps the cowboy church running. Not everybody has that kind of gift. Not everybody can feed a bunch of people regularly with just effortlessly like the Highs, Glenn and Dorothy do. Not everybody can do that, but you can be who God made you to be. See, you're the only one now that you can do. Nobody can do better than what you do at your job. So do your job. Find out who you are and bloom where you're planted. That's the great joy. Don't try to be somebody else. Oh, that's so miserable. That's just miserable to be trying to be somebody. Just be who God made you to be. And bloom with your gifts. Use your gifts. Now, I have, in my toolbox at home, I have a hammer. I have a hammer. Now, I can reach in there and in my toolbox and I can get my hammer, or I can leave it in the toolbox. It don't matter to the hammer. I get to tell the hammer, just either I'm going to use you or I'm not going to use you. Okay? Hammer don't have a word to say about whether I use it or not. Now, I can grab that hammer, I can go out and grab an old rusty 16-penny nail in the side of a barn. Or I can take a real fine little finish nail and put it in the jewelry box. And I can tell my hammer to drive that nail. And now can you imagine this? I got my hammer out, and I start to go around and drive a 16-penny nail in the corner of the barn, and my hammer says, "Wait a minute." Whoa! You're not going to use me for that old rough work, are you? Well, you could use me to drive a little pretty finished nail in a jewelry box, but you're going to bang me up against a 16-penny nail in the corner. Can you imagine my hammer doing that? Well, can you imagine some of you going to the Lord and say, "Lord, oh, I've got better use. You could use me better, Lord, if you do this. Lord, if I was over here doing this, why, I could just really bring glory to you. Lord, I don't want to have to clean the toilets and clean the seats. Why, no, Lord, I was made for finer work than that." How funny is that? Huh? Think about it. It's just like my hammer telling me not to use it on a 16-penny rusty nail. See, we're to be used where God wants to use us. Where He puts you, there you bloom. He put a guitar in David's hand, and he's bloomed with that guitar in his hand. And but He's put something different in everybody else's hand. He put that saxophone in Ron Russ's hand, and Ron took that thing and made something glorious out of it, to the glory of God. Whatever He puts in your hand, you use it to bring glory to God. Relax. Use where God puts you. Don't allow your limitations to lie to you. This happens a lot. People say, "Well, I can't play saxophone like Ronnie Russ. I can't sing like David and tell funny stories, and I can't do that good stuff. So I'm just not going to do anything. I'll just quit, because I can't do this." That's a limitation, and it's lying to you. You are not limited. You just are different. Find out what that is and how you're different, and use it. And somebody say, "Well, I'm not smart enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not something enough." And we say, "Well, I've got a disadvantage." Listen, use your disadvantages, turn them into advantages. They'll work that way too. Just turn it around. Now, so first thing I want you to notice is if you want the joy to flow and to maximize that joy, you just be who God made you to be. Don't try to be somebody else. And then, the next thing I notice in verse 15 is that Paul celebrated and rejoiced at the work of other people. Now think about that. Paul was excited when somebody else did something good. Now can you imagine that? A preacher getting excited about another church that did something good. Or a business that does something and then your competitor does it. We don't celebrate when our competitors or another church or whatever does something good, but we should. There's where the joy lies, in celebrating the work of others. Let me read verse 15. "It is true that some preach Christ out of envy and rivalry, but others out of goodwill. The latter do so in love, knowing that I am put here for the defense of the gospel. Now the former preach Christ out of selfish ambition, not sincerely, supposing that they can stir up trouble for me while I'm in chains. But what does it matter? The important thing is that in every way, whether from false motives or true, Christ is preached." Now here's what Paul says. Paul says, quit criticizing other ministries. Quit criticizing other businesses. Quit criticizing other families. Quit criticizing people and start loving them for Christ. When something good happens to them, get excited about it. Rejoice in it. Celebrate in it. You don't have to go around, well, they got to do that and I don't get to do it. That's how we live, isn't it? We act like a bunch of little spoiled kids. But if we want the joy, learn to enjoy when somebody else gets blessed. That's the truth there. It's refreshing to be a part of us, of the Cowboy Church. I thought about this the other day. The whole denomination of Cowboys churches, we're so young yet we haven't got sophisticated enough to criticize each other. I like that. We're still young. So Paul says, I'm beginning to think, Paul says, who cares what denomination of church? Let's just preach Christ. See, because God can, you say, I can't use me. I don't have the ability to do this. I can't do that. I'm not smart enough to do this. Listen to me. God can use a donkey to preach the gospel. Come on. He can use anything to preach the gospel. Let me read you a little story out of the book of Numbers. Balaam got up in the morning, saddled his donkey, and went off with the princes. But God was very angry when he went, and the angel of the Lord stood in the road to oppose him. Now get this. See, Balaam took off, and he was going in the wrong direction. He was going differently than where God wanted him to go. Now stay with me now. He was going against God, in other words. So the angel of the Lord stood in the road to oppose him. Balaam was riding on his donkey, and his two servants were with him. Now when the donkey saw the angel of the Lord standing in the road with a sword drawn, she turned off the road. Now the donkey could see this angel. Balaam, the rider, couldn't. Okay, keep going with me now. So the donkey saw the angel and went off the road. Because the angel had a sword drawn in his hand that was going to cut things in two with that sword. All right? The donkey saw it. Balaam didn't see it. Okay, here we go. So then the angel of the Lord stood in a narrow path between two vineyards with walls on both sides. And when the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, she pressed close to one wall, crushing Balaam's foot against it. Have you ever been riding a horse and he rubs you up against something, crushes your foot? Well, I've done that. It's not any fun. So when the donkey saw it, he pressed close to the wall, and so he beat her again. Now there's two times. The donkey saved his life twice, and he beat her. Are you with me? Okay, keep going. The donkey's got to get enough of this here in a minute. Then the angel of the Lord moved on ahead and stood in a place where there was no room to turn, neither right or left. And when the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, she lay down under Balaam. And he was angry, and he beat her with his staff. Then the Lord opened the donkey's mouth. Now here's the donkey. And she said to Balaam, what have I done to you to make you beat me these 3 times? Balaam answered the donkey, well, you've made a fool out of me. Well, if I had a sword in my hand, I'd kill you right now. The donkey said to Balaam, am I not your own donkey, which you've ridden to this day? Have I been in the habit of doing this to you? No, he said. Then the Lord opened Balaam's eyes, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the road with his sword drawn. So he bowed low and fell face down. And the angel of the Lord asked him, why have you beaten me, your donkey, these 3 times? I've come here to oppose you because your path is a reckless one before me. You see, the donkey saw the problem and spoke to it. See, and a lot of people here don't know what the real problem is. The real problem is not with the donkey, but it's with you. So we need to get this. But listen to me. There's never been a time when standing for truth or right were more important. This is a very important time in the history of our world.
Amen.
We need to stand for truth. But let's not waste our time fighting other Christians and being against this and being against that. We don't have time for that. It's time for us all to just join hands. All of us, all across Christendom. We need to stand hand to hand, collar to collar. We don't, however we're dressed, wherever we serve, whatever we do, we stand hand to hand. We reach Cowboys, they reach Urbanites. They reach whatever. It don't matter. We stand hand to hand. And we stand and we preach the name of gospel. And so even if a donkey can speak the truth, I believe you can. So let's quit fighting and kicking around and start loving people. We need to stop. The third thing for the joy to happen is to stop trying to fix other people. And just work on you. Stop trying to fix other people. Some folks get so frustrated trying to fix somebody else. Have you ever tried to fix your spouse? How does that work for you? Is that going pretty good? Yeah, you know what that is? That's an exercise in frustration. It really is. You know why that's the way it is? Because folks, you can't fix somebody else. You can't. You're just wasting your time. Who's the only person you can fix? It's you. You're the only one you can fix. So work on you. Don't try to always be fixing somebody else. It just don't work. Let's listen to what Paul says about this. I want you to notice how many times he talks about himself now. He always sees before he's about others, but now he talks about him. He says that many times. Verse 18. And because of this, I rejoice. Yes, and I will continue to rejoice. For I know that through your prayers and the help given by the Spirit of Christ, of Jesus Christ, that what has happened to me will turn out for my deliverance. I eagerly expect and hope that I will in no way be ashamed, but will have sufficient courage, so that now, as always, Christ will be exalted in my body, whether by life or death. Paul knew there was not one thing he could do to change his opponent's mind. He knew it. And you won't change somebody else's mind, trust me. You see, Paul focused only on changing himself. He knew it. That's where he could fix it. He started working on the inner man. That's what he started working on. It's the only place you can change it. I love this illustration. I've seen this on sports bloopers. A guy was pitching, and I think it was in Chicago, could be wrong, but he was throwing a baseball toward home plate, and he hit a dove. A bird flew right at the same time, and as the pitch was coming home, that bird and that ball hit like that, and that bird just blew up when he hit that ball. Some of you have seen it. It's just a fluke accident. Well, I got to thinking about that. Here's this dove, and he's flying. He's flying around up there in the stadium. Look at all them people. And he's flapping his wings. He looks down there in front of the dugout, and he says, "Boy, look at all those sunflower seeds." Those players will spit out sunflower seeds. And he said, "Boy, I'm going to go down there and see if I can get me one of them sunflower seeds." So he starts down toward that sunflower seed, pile of sunflower seeds. And he's flying down, and he says, "Well, something's coming up on my left. Wonder what that is." "Well, it better move, because I ain't moving. I'm going to get me some sunflower seeds." "That silly thing's coming. It's getting closer." "Well, that thing better move. I'm going to get a sunflower seed. It better not. Boy, look out, that thing's on fire." All the time he kept thinking that thing ought to move. But he couldn't control the baseball flying at him. He could only control the dove. And he flew right into that baseball. Another story I love to tell, hadn't thought about it in a long time. And this supposedly was a very true story. There was a destroyer, United States destroyer captain off the east coast of America, was driving his ship with his full crew, 100 and some sailors, and he was in control of his craft. And it was during wartime. And he saw lights in the distance, and he called out, "This was destroyer. This is the captain of the destroyer, so and so. So move your ship to the right," because he was a captain, and he was court. And the guy stood back and says, "This is the lighthouse. Adjust your course."
Quickly.
See, a lot of us are like that captain, and we're bossing everybody around, and the only person we can change course on is you. Stop trying to outrun the ball with the dove. Stop trying to move the lighthouses around. And stop fixing yourself. You change your course. So see, while you're here, your task is clear. And what you're supposed to do is take Jesus into everything. I'm going to wind this up by saying this. Remember, put God first in every part of your life. You want to be joyful? Put Him first. Put other people second. Celebrate their life. Don't be jealous of them. Don't be petty. Just love them and celebrate their life. Be glad when they're glad. Be sad when they're sad. And then put yourself third. But if you put you there, you're going to open your life up to all kinds of great joy. I'm loving this Philippians study. Stay with us as we walk down through this a few more weeks and see what God may have to tell us about joy. Will you pray with me?